Hello and welcome to Scraps Creations, Making of a Stained Glass Panel. Let's first of all talk about the piece we're going to be drawing inspiration from today. This artwork was done by my daughter, Kayla Rice, about 15 years ago, and it was so well done that her teacher had this posted in the library on display for not only other kids to see, but parents as well. So we're obviously very proud of our daughter. We took the original drawing, had it matted and framed, and I've had this hung in my office ever since. Our first step in creating this panel is the template itself. So what I'll normally do is take a picture of the object in which I want to turn into a template, and then looking at things like heavy lines and proper breaks, plus the contours of the actual artwork piece, will determine where I actually draw in the breaks that we'll later on have incorporated into the stained glass panel itself. Once the template is created, I'll then take this template, load this up in my plotter cutting software to actually cut out the template pieces to put on the glass itself. Then I'll go choose the glass, closely matching the artwork that's actually in the piece itself, and begin with a cut of the glass itself, as well as a grinding, and then eventually a foiling. What made this project a little bit more challenging was the white paint that was used in the original drawing. In order to replicate that, I would have to, as the original artist did, replicate the painting using glass paint or glass fused paint, and then bake the actual glass in a kiln at 1250 degrees. And what that does is it actually embeds the paint color into the actual glass itself. Because I'm cooking the glass, it's important that every piece of that particular color is kiln fired to ensure that any discolorations aren't noticeable on the actual artwork once it's completed. So we had every piece that was painted and then went into the kiln for approximately 12 hours. That's cooled and then reassembled. Next, we'll wrap each piece in copper foiling, which has an adhesive background and acts as our framing for the actual artwork. And this is your traditional stained glass Tiffany style that you normally hear about. Next was tackling the description plate for the artwork. To do this, I had to take your normal fused paint and thin it out into an ink-like consistency. This will allow me to use a fountain pen to draw out the wording in a very fine detail. Now, the difficulty here became with the consistency of the paint itself. Too thin and it wouldn't be dark enough, and too thick it would be too blotchy and spread into the actual glass itself. So we found a great mixture of consistency with this by adding gum arabic, and as you can see, the results I think were actually pretty outstanding. You don't see this a lot with stained glass because perfecting this is a very difficult thing to do. However, it's a skill I'm continuing to work on until today. After the firing of the nameplate, I'm able to begin the assembly of the glass itself. All the glass in the center, as you can see there, has already been foiled and soldered. I then put a brass framing around that and then finished it off with the green border, which is to act as the matting for from the original artwork itself. That matting is then again surrounded by yet another framing of brass framing, and then soldered on the backside and patinaed to give us a finished panel without framing at this point. With the framing, I wanted to match up to the original artwork as closely as possible, and so what I did was I milled down to about 1 3/4 inch square monkey pod hardwood with 2 mill lines going down each of the corners, as well as the glass holding slot down the center of the inner edge. What this allows me to do is actually encase the glass in the framing itself, making it more sturdy and more durable, which is why I encase versus just applying framing over as an overlay to the actual panel itself. This gives us a fantastic look and permanent framing for the panel in which we're creating. We finish up with a good cleaning of the piece. We'll focus first of all around the Winter's Landscape brass framing. We'll get that to a nice brass shine. And then obviously we're focusing on the glass itself, removing any smudges or discolorations from the piece as we were working on it during the frame. Lastly, we'll put a coat of wax on this and polish it to a nice shine, giving us this beautiful piece of work. And finally, when we compare to the original artwork, you can obviously see the differences in the coloring. In addition to that, you're going to see a much more bolder look coming from the glass, as well as a durability to last for generations to come. The final piece measured in without the framing at 17 by 11.5 inches, while with the framing we're looking at a standard 20 by 14 frame. This consisted of over 200 pieces of Kokomo, Oceanside, and Youghiogheny stained glass to make up the entire panel. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button below and let me know what you think about this Winter's Landscapes recreation. Thank you.